today's question is going to be about dealing with some spazzy white belts that are ripping submissions. And before I get into it, if anybody has a question about this shirt, anytime I wear this Kimura shirt or the triangle choke shirt, I always get questions about where to get them. This is from Epic Roll. I'll put the links down in the description box below if you want to snag one. Shout out to Matt and Epic Roll, good dude. So anyway, the question comes from Christian, who basically says, relatively new to jiu-jitsu. He's done martial arts sporadically over his whole life, and so now he's getting into a situation where he's getting into jiu-jitsu. But his biggest worry is about rolling with other white belts who then get a hold of a submission and they wrench it so fast that he doesn't have a chance to tap, right? So they put his arm or leg in a lock of some sort and they rip it back and he doesn't have a chance to tap. And he's really worried about that. And so he's curious, he sends a question to me. Is this a valid concern or is this something I just need to get used to? So thank you for the question. So brother, thank you for the question. And Christian, this is a valid concern. And no, it's not something you should just get used to. I mean, yes, white belts are going to be a little spazzy, right? And that's just the way that it is. And again, it's not that they can't help it. You know, I always get upset with people like when they just rag on white belts. Oh, stop being so spazzy. Like, they can't help it. Their whole nervous system's going for a wild ride, and they're so inexperienced with everything that they don't know unless you show them, right? This is why I typically keep white belts into like situational rolling to some degree for a while before you let them out into the whole, just to play around with full rolling, right? But that said, what do you do if you are a white belt and you're rolling with other white belts and that is a concern for you, right? As you guys are all training and you're all a little wild and sloppy and everything else, how do you protect each other? Well, the number one thing that I would say to you is learn the value of a verbal tap. A verbal tap when you aren't fast enough to tap is a great way to tap. I'm like you, man. I have never wanted to get my arm wrenched or get popped or anything like that. And so anytime, I don't care what belt level it's at, from white to black, anytime I'm in a situation where I don't have the chance to tap out fast enough, maybe something gets caught, my arm gets put in a weird position, just anything, I will make a tap, tap, right? Verbal tap. Get loud and say it. Nothing wrong with it, right? The verbal tap is legitimate, right? I verbal tapped in competitions before where I'm fighting a submission off to the last moment and then I feel like I'm losing it. I'm like, tap, 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 tap. And even like with some of my training partners here, sometimes it just happens. We get in these crazy scrambles. They'll catch something and I don't have time to tap, or sometimes your arm is out in a weird spot and you can't tap out quick enough. I'll just verbal tap, right? So learn the value of the verbal tap so when you get caught in these positions and as they're going back, you can start tapping, or you can try to tap out, but if you can't, you can verbal tap. The other thing that you will find, Christian, is that as you train longer, you will get privy to when you are caught in a submission. Right? You'll find a feeling, and I remember this very vividly, right? Where back in the day when I was a white and blue belt, where, you know, the higher belts were putting me in weird stuff. And maybe you don't have to be quite as worried with the higher belts than you do the lower belts, but still, I remember being caught in weird submissions sometimes by some of the higher belts, and they'd be going for them, and I didn't even know what they were going for really, but I could just feel that their whole body had coiled around a part of my mind, right? Like if you think of a submission, really becomes someone's whole body attacking your arm, someone's whole body attacking your leg, right? So you get this person's coiled around your leg or your arm or your neck, and then you have to tap out. So again, you will get privy to when those things are happening, and you will have a better sort of spidey jiu-jitsu sense of when to tap. And the last sort of thing that I would share with you, bro, just very quickly, is to tap early as much as possible. So again, if you're worried about this, tap early. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, tap early to a submission. Don't tap early to like you're just kind of uncomfortable from pressure. Try to fight through that stuff. But when someone does get a submission to you, like for instance, here's a great example. I've seen this happen plenty of times. Someone's like, let's say a guy's laying across me here, and they're pulling my arm, and I feel like I'm losing my grip. And all of a sudden, boom, they pull it back too fast and get the arm popped, right? I've seen that happen plenty of times. Well, like when me now, and this is something you should probably do, when the arm is like, you feel like you're losing your grip, tap, 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 you tap then before it actually gets fully extended, especially as you're developing these skills, because again, some people can play that full range of motion and they know how to protect themselves. You're not at that range or at that level yet, and you would definitely not want to do that with white belts who are not going to maybe take it slow. So those would be my three things to you, bro. Verbal tap, that's the biggie, right? Verbal tap when you can't tap with your hand or when you don't have time. You will become privy to all those things that are happening. You'll get that sensitivity in your body, that intuition that'll tell you when you're getting caught in a submission, regardless of whether or not you know it's happened or what's happening exactly or not. And then the last thing, man, is that with the submissions, if you have to, it's always better to tap early than late. So just a couple ideas to chew on. Hopefully that helps you out, Christian. Talk to you guys next time.